Good evening, November Foxtrot.
Evening.
How you doing, Andy?
Alright, it's getting over this cold slowly, but drugs are helping.
Drugs are always good.
Drugs are always good.
Except if you have a problem with drugs, in which case they're obviously less good.
Yeah.
But
I might have
on.
a problem with this. I might have a problem with them after this, but... Oh, you've gone. Hang on a sec. I've lost you.
No, I'm still here. Hi, Les. Hi, Chris. Welcome. Hi, Padraig.
Evening, all.
Got a little sneaky thing for Padraig when I next see him.
I don't know how... Is that close enough for you, Lance?
That's very close.
Turn me up, Mike.
Are you quiet?
Apparently so.
You are literally as high as I can make you.
It's not the only thing that's made me...
Hi, Matthew McCarthy. Hi, Danny. Hi, Chris. Chris says, Mike, why do you sound like a rapist?
That's a bit...
I don't know what that sounds like.
A bit strong.
Yeah.
Christ, what? It's only not even a minute in yet.
Hi, Rage.
All guns blazing.
Evening, gents. Evening, gents. Why are you on drugs, Andy?
I've got this sodding cold that's going around and need to get back on it. So, yeah, drugs are helping.
He says it's gone now. Cool. Well, I hope you feel better soon, because it's rough when you feel ill.
Well, yeah, I've got this weekend to get through yet, so...
That'll be fun.
RiffSim.
RiffSim.
RiffSim, yes.
Do you want to talk about that quickly while we're on the subject?
Yeah, can do. It's an event that I'm running with Rift Airsoft this weekend. I'm going to be a player marshal. There are still spaces if people wanted to have an event this weekend. It's 75 quid. For your 75 quid, you get a patch, a 24-hour ration pack, British Army one. So you get that as part of your price. We've got 6 vehicles in total. What else is there? We've got... we're going to be running rules like medivacs. The only people that are going to be able to medic you is a medic, and they've got morphine syringes that they have to use up. We've got some exciting stuff planned that I can't really go into, but it's well worth looking into. We're going to have night games, night patrols. It's going to be full immersion. Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
Cool.
I don't want to go into too much, because if we go into too much, it will spoil it for the people that are already booked on.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. Well,
if you're looking for an event, go for it. Come and join us.
So, what roughly what price is that?
It's 75 quid.
Cool.
And you get a patch and the ration, like a 24-hour British Army ration pack, which are normally about 10 quid anyway. So you don't even have to supply your own food.
Yeah, cool. Nice. And you'll be there, so that's obviously a major plus.
And I'll be there, of course, with the lurgy, as Rage said, man flu.
Yep.
Yeah, it's full on man flu.
Danny said, "Man up, stop being a wet wipe."
Oh, I've used a lot of wet wipes.
That got weird quick. Hi, SEO.
Chris,
thanks for joining us. Yeah, we're actually fresh off the event of SEO this week.
Yes.
We had a sort of invite-only event. It was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It was a we call it a whole hard routine. I appreciate the hard routine. Obviously, there's a difference of opinion as to what that actually means, but ultimately, it was living out of your bergan, tab into the game zone, no return to the cars. Literally, you are, everything is a self-contained unit for that entire duration of the event, and it was really good. It was really, really good. My biggest thing that I found, I can't see at night. I really struggle with the darkness.
To be fair, though, that site, as soon as it goes dark, it is dark.
Yeah, so I made the slight mistake of taking only the Tiger Eye Edge Tactical eyewear. So the orange lenses. They don't work at night at all. No, they make everything a lot worse. So that didn't help. And then on top of that, I know I suffer with sort of bad nighttime eyesight anyway. So I think the two of those combined was pretty bad, and I ended up, as Fresh Meat said, I had him at night. Literally, I was at one point just holding onto the back of him, just like, just don't leave me.
Be my friend.
I know. Hi Dan, thanks for joining. Ray says, have I missed why the finger pointing fuckwit Lance is skiving? Oh yes, Lance unfortunately can't make it tonight. He's got a meeting, a work
They wouldn't
meeting.
let him off.
So he will be back next week, obviously for the 100th episode, which we are super excited about. Which will be on Saturday. It'll be starting at 7 o'clock in the evening, not the morning. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be exciting. SEO said there was plenty of moon. My issue is the sweat on my lenses. It's like wearing nods underwater. Yeah, see, there was plenty of moon until you went under the tree line, in which case it just got very dark. But it was really good, genuinely. And we're going to do a bit more of a recap about that next week when Lance is back. Because obviously Andy wasn't able to make the event, unfortunately. Lance and I went, so we kind of want to do a bit of a recap on that together. So that'll be sort of rolled into our 100th show next week. So
Definitely.
Don't miss that. In the meantime, should we do some Pew's news?
Yes.
So,
what Pew's news have we got?
I take my gun and I go pew 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 pew.
News. Oh, it never gets old. I've got a little surprise being worked on for that next week. So I'd like to just start. I actually got a late birthday present from my in-laws, which is the Nightcore LA10, which is a little mini torch. It's got 4 different settings. So it's got a low, medium, high, and then it's got a pulsing strobe mode, which is very annoying. But it's actually, the key thing with this is that it actually expands outwards. So for those on video, you can actually see the light tube extending out there. So it's really, really good. It's like a little bivvy light, something like that. There's no red mode on it or anything like that, but it's quite useful for sort of trying to get sort of shedding the light round in a larger area, but with the capability to then detract that and use that as just a normal torch if you want to. So the only thing I did want to discuss, the beacon mode is very, very bright when you've got it extended. So that could be useful if you know, I guess if there's an emergency or something. I think that runs for like 2 hours on that.
Is it chargeable or battery?
It's a little AA battery, so it's not any sort of fancy expensive batteries. It's IPX6 waterproof. It's got a magnetic tail cap. It's weirdly enough, so it actually grabs the batteries as well, but it's just a normal AA battery. So yes, a cool little present. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. Les says, "Fucking hell, White, it's got a lipstick."
Yeah,
yeah. That I won't lie. That
is what you described it as.
It's my dog dick torch. But it's cool. They do 2 versions of this. There's an LA10 and an LA10 CRI. The CRI I don't think gets quite as bright, but possibly I think it's sort of to do with the actual LED unit inside the torch. So if anyone's interested, I think you can get them off of Amazon. So
nice.
There you go. Got any news?
New hammock setup arrived. Under blanket, DD camping hammocks. So I've got that and that. So I can be nice and toasty, doing some wooden camping.
So that you said earlier that hammock's got a sorry, let me just take Leslie's comment on. You said earlier that hammock's got a sort of a top to it.
You can this one hasn't.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
But you can buy an attachment for it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it has like a pole that goes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it opens it up so it's more flat, like more of a square shape, and then it just has kind of like a dome over the top. So you can like either throw your basher over it, or you can. It comes with its own Ranger green coloured waterproof netting. But I'll probably just, if I use it, I'll probably just use a basher over the top, because I would say that the basher is probably slightly better than what their one is. For what we want, what we would use it for, as long as it's big enough.
Okay. If anyone in the chat, could you just let me know if Andy and I are similar levels in terms of audio? Because I'm conscious of getting a few messages to say Andy's a bit quiet. I don't know if it's because I'm too loud. Might be the other way of looking at that.
The only other thing is I just got to sit like that with my big white ball on my face.
No, I think it's possibly it's possibly I'm a bit louder than you. So if I turn mine down slightly, if that might help, maybe just sort of balance the levels. I don't know. We'll give that a go. Cool. So that's exciting. So what was the? So you had the bash. You had a hammock, and what was the other thing? Your underquilt.
Yeah, the underquilt. Yeah, the DD underquilt.
Cool.
Because last time I used it down at the last SEO event, I got a little bit of a freezy bum. And as it's starting to get a bit more wintry, I thought, you know what, I'll treat myself. Well, I didn't treat myself. The missus treated me to the under blanket. So no more cold bum.
Yeah.
And the new hammock has a slot in the bottom, so you can actually put a mat in it. Yeah. As well, so I can be super toasty.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was
That's
like,
cool.
yeah. So it's got like, so you have your hammock, then you have a zip, so you can put your bed in there, like your bedroll, and then you have your under blanket underneath as well. So I'm going to try that out this weekend. That should be nice and warm. And just
there is something special about living in a hammock for the weekend. It's quite a
I
sitting
really
there just
enjoyed
gently swaying in the tree is lovely.
Yeah, and I bought a. It's basically the same thing, but it's like a ratchet strap that goes around the tree, and it has a big heavy duty hook on it, so you can hang your bag up off the ground. Because last time I found was that I had to have my bag underneath my hammock, and it does help with stopping the wind come through. But then by the morning, all the moisture and stuff had already got to come up through the ground where that bag was. So I'm going to try this way, because the X300 comes with its own waterproof bag.
Yep.
So it has a zip at the bottom, and you pull your waterproof cover over the top. So I'm hoping I can hang it up on a tree. And
I guess the only thing to be aware of or conscious of is water running down the tree.
So that it kind of goes round, and then the hook kind of sits out, and then hooks
Oh,
round.
cool. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you'll have like a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, because obviously if that bag's right up against that tree,
Yeah.
any moisture that comes down, because presumably it'll be the backpacks, like your back side of the ruck. So obviously if you've got that on your back and you're all wet, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, that's the only thing about hammock camping, is just finding somewhere to put your bergan, is what I find.
I normally put it underneath.
Yeah. No, I did last time, but as I said,
That way you've got something to fall on if you fall out.
I kept tripping over it.
Yeah.
And then every time I tried getting something out, I kept getting all caught up with the hammock sitting on the back of my head. And then I ended up getting myself in a bit of a tiz.
No. I can just imagine you in the woods just, yeah.
I was like, no more.
Yeah.
Going home.
No, fair enough. Les says this weekend is his first time using his Dutch Army tent. Absolutely brilliant. I highly recommend it.
Yep, they're good tents.
I have a bit of feedback actually on the Dutch Army thermarest pads.
Oh yeah.
So I think mine leaks, which this is going to come across sounding like a criticism, but bear with me. So mine leaks, but it was still a very, very comfy night's sleep. So I woke up with not much air left in the morning, but it's obviously still got sort of a foam inner. And even though, it definitely wasn't as pressurized as it was the night before, I had a lovely night's sleep, and I wasn't cold or anything like that, definitely from the ground. So even with, the potential that it's not necessarily operating as it should, it was still a proper bit of kit.
Yeah.
So
I've got two now.
Have you got two?
One, yeah, I bought the first.
You were going to stick them together, weren't you?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Just, hopefully there's enough room in the hammock.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I bought two because they are good, and like you said, I think one of mine is it lets the air out slowly, but like you said, it's still a comfortable sleep. Like you still wake up in the morning, you haven't had any moisture or cold come up through into the sleeping bag itself. So I was quite impressed with them.
No, they're good bits of kit. So I mean, yeah, if anyone's interested, I think Prepper Shop occasionally have them. They do tend to sell out quite quickly because they are quite good.
I think they've still got some left. I don't think they all went.
Because they're about £26 or something like that.
Yeah, they're not much. No.
They're really not that expensive, but for what you get,
and with your NoFo 10 discount,
exactly 10% off.
And try their beer if you like a pale ale. Oh, I was
you're gonna get pissed in the space of an hour and a half.
Oh. I had 4 of those that night, and I was feeling a bit. Yeah, do you know what? The room's spinning a little bit when I went to bed.
Yeah, and you've been ill ever since.
Yeah, and I've been ill ever since.
It's a week-long hangover.
Yeah.
Fresh Meat says on the Thermarest pads they do go a bit soft as they stretch a little with people on them. Yeah, I mean, I think with mine specifically, there was a leak in that, I'd inflated it up to not an unreasonable pressure, and then definitely in the morning there wasn't as much air in there as I'd put in there the night before. So, but it's still really good bits of kit. So, did you want to talk about the plate carrier raffle?
Yeah, it's still going ahead. My brain's not with it.
Did you want me to talk about
it? So basically, we've got the play which we will be judging next Saturday for 100 episodes. There's some good prizes for that. There's the Kronos scope, Edge tactical eyewear, and some patches. I think we've got for that one. It's quite a good little prize giveaway. I think it's about 200 quid's worth of stuff, and that Kronos is quite a nice little scope. Basically, you can build it out of whatever you want. Your entry has to be you wearing it, and it has to be carrying something. So either mags or coffee or syrup, whatever you want. Make it as weird and wonderful as you like. We won't judge you on what it's made of. We'll just judge you on how you look at wearing it.
And the artistic ability. That's what I want to see. I want to see some sort of artistic. And to be fair, there's not many entrants that we've got at the moment. So if you do want to enter, we're probably going to be closing. It is 2 currently. And one of those is me. I can't win the prize. I've just built the plate carrier for the sake of it. But yeah, we don't have many entrants. So if you are willing to have a go, we'll be closing the entrance for images and bits and pieces on Thursday next week. So that'll be the 27th. So get your images in, and it'll be interesting to see what you can come up with. Yeah. The one we have had is very good, I'd just like to say. So yeah, it's creative, and at the moment it's going to win, not purely just because it's the only one we've had. So if you want to come up with something, definitely be creative and come up with some different ideas, because the material this one's made out of is a really good one.
So
I don't want to say any more. But
I don't know, like anything, playing cards.
Yep. I still want to see an Amazon one, an Amazon cardboard box set up or something like that.
Yeah, you can use whatever you want. Ramen, copper pipe. Well, that depends on how rich you are.
Yeah.
Plastic pipe. Wood. If someone's got the skills to chisel out a lump of wood, so it just sits on them.
That would be amazing. It's just like running around like, come in. James has got to go. James won't be able to make this live stream next week, sadly. But James, you can catch up live afterwards, and we'll be thinking of you. I don't know, you can't make it. He also just mentioned with the Thermarest pad, it was helping me to pack away in the morning. So that's you're right. There wasn't a lot of air I had to squeeze out, unfortunately.
It was a quick breakdown one. Hang on, let's see if I can shrink my chair.
While you're doing that, there's a couple of comments further back. Dan says, hard routine. Was there a resupply for water, or was it only what you could carry in? So we had a resupply for water, but it was actually located around the game zone. So there's a few water courses that ran through the site, as well as some abandoned sort of mill pond style things. And at those locations, so locations where there actually was physical water, there were sort of canteens or sort of like big jerry can style esque water containers that you could basically top up. So it was still in game. If you were sitting there, and you're trying to top up with water and you get attacked, that's something you had to bear in mind. So we had to put guard around what we were doing at the time, make sure obviously no one sort of came up and bumped us while we were there.
Yeah, no, I really like that part of the game. Like, I think that's brilliant, because you have to think about, oh shit, like, we're going out on a patrol, I've got half a bladder of water left, do I need to...
Sorry, Rage is just shouting water bottles.
Like, do we need to swing past somewhere? Like, does half the team need to top up with water? Things like that. So I actually really like that side of the game. It's something so simple, so easy, but it adds a thought process to the game.
I mean, because you can send out a sort of little two-person element to go and top up with water, so you can throw a load of water bottles into a bag and go and top them all up at once, with one person sort of keeping eyes on, sort of trying to minimise the amount of people you got out and about. I mean, for us, it really wasn't that critical, because the number of people on site was quite low. But I would imagine that if you had slightly higher numbers with sort of regular patrols going out and about, because the event was sort of an escape and evade type situation, there's that added risk at that point. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting thing that I've never done before.
No, I really liked it. It was a good idea of the... Because also as well, you're not carrying it around with you the whole time as well, which is nice.
Unless you're afraid to fill up, which is what I was. So I carried 3 litres into the game zone, which possibly wasn't the best idea, but 3 litres was pretty much just enough for what I needed for that weekend. Bless you. Talking of the extending torch, the Nightcore LA10, Anthony says if it was red, it would be like a dog's lipstick. Actually, to be fair, I am tempted to contact Nightcore and see if they can make a little red one, because that would be brilliant.
Just
having that ability. Well, I was debating that, but I didn't want to damage the one I've actually got.
Buy another one and paint the inside of it.
But if they could make like a little red insert or one that is like a red cone on it, obviously that would be quite helpful for nighttime operations, things like that, where you want to potentially have a bit of red light that you want to expand out or sort of shrink down, depending on what you want to use it for.
Yeah, because I'm after one of those as well. If anyone knows of one, I need like a small, about that sort of size, red hanging light on off, just to hang up in the hammock,
the brothel,
or in the brothel, just so when I go in there I can see what I'm doing for 5 minutes and then turn it off.
That's a long time.
Yeah. What happens when you're alone? Or is it if the hammocks are rocking, don't come and knock it?
Fresh Meat said I drank 1.5 litres. I found out when I got home, not used to using a bladder.
Your bladder, or a drinking bladder?
I think it's drinking bladder. Kenny
not
says
used to
I like
using my bladder.
Kenny says I like the 2-quart style for those types of games. So yeah, sort of like I had 2 1 litre Osprey water bottles. And a 1 litre sauce pouch, and that's what I was basically running. So Rage said, are you changing your name to Roxanne then, Andy?
That's my weekend name.
Roxanne. So that was obviously the build your own plate carryout competition.
Yep.
We are still taking donations through our Just Giving page for the Royal British Legion Industries. So please keep donating to that. We have now exceeded our £500 target, which is amazing.
Well done, guys.
The more we can push it, even better. Lance has said that if we can get to £1,000, then he'll let us shave his beard. So if that's not, in any way a bonus prize for entering, then I don't know what we could offer you. with every £5 that you donate, up to a maximum of 20, we are providing you the opportunity to basically claim raffle tickets through the website. So full details on our website, novemberfoxtrot.co.uk/comp100. But basically the idea is we're trying to raise money for the RBLI, and through your donation we are offering you some raffle tickets, and we've got a load of good, really awesome prizes. I mean the prize amount is just so far more than the actual money that we've raised, unfortunately, but hey ho, you know, it is what it is. But we are at £580 now raised, which is fantastic, so thank you ever so much. But please keep giving if you can,
and share it on every platform that you're on, please. Because we're not even bothered if they carry on listening to us afterwards. It's literally we just want to raise as much money as we can for them. It's an amazing charity. If you look at some of the stuff they do on their website and things, and how they help veterans and families, absolutely phenomenal work that they do. So the more we can raise, the better. So please share. They don't even have to like us. Just please share that event, and as you like, you're in with a chance of winning some nice prizes as a thank you from us for helping us raise the money for them.
Yeah, couldn't put it better myself. Right, so hard routine events.
Yes,
we're going to talk about what we're packing for our event first. For starters, if anyone hasn't seen this before, and again, this probably isn't much use for people on audio only, but we actually have a typical kit list that you can use as a download from our website. So it's under the Intel section in our little download section of that. It covers everything from shelter systems, clothing, welfare kits, and bits and pieces like that. So we're going to be going through kind of what we pack for these sort of harder routine events. I don't like calling it a harder routine event because to me it isn't necessarily any more harder than just camping in the woods, basically. But
it's
hard routine kind of sums that up.
It's not having a soft FOB. Is what I would describe it. You don't turn up and you don't throw. You don't throw your camp bed out. Yeah, you don't throw your camp bed out. You don't have your cooler that you can drag around. You don't have all your weapons all piled up next to you. It's you turn up to an event. You've got your bag. You go out to the field. That's it. That's
no returning to the car. I know that was a massive thing that Lance really enjoyed from the event this last weekend, which was,
no one.
You are whatever you have on you is what you have in that event.
Yeah.
And there were times that I wish I had less on me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But that's a good thing as well, because you do kind of learn. Because the first one I did, I had the world on me. I had like 6 litres of water. I had like 2 24-hour ration packs, even though I was only there for 24 hours. I like 3 different pairs of boxers. I was only there for one night. 15 pairs of socks, 2 changes of clothes, and you kind of think, hang on a minute, I've really packed for it here. And now you kind of go, I could probably cut this down a little bit. I don't need that much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on your first event, you were guaranteed to carry more than you need anyway.
Yes, always.
So, okay, well, should we talk about sleeping? So, with a sleeping setup. So, I'm going to come at it from a basher point of view. Do you want to come at it from a hammock point of view?
Yes.
And
then we'll chat about tents as well.
Yep. So you go off on hammocks.
I'll go off on hammocks. Right. So hammock camping, in my opinion, is probably the best way of getting a good night's sleep without compromising on weight, in my opinion. Especially in the summer, you can get away with a lot more in the summer. So you can have either your hammock, which doesn't weigh much. I think the heaviest one that I found was just under 1 kilogram, but that was like tent. It had all fly nets and everything all over it, but a lot of them, they're only about 650 grams, and they pack up into, like, most of them are this sort of size, which you can see is that's the size of my head, and I don't have a big head. I like to think that I do, but I don't. So it saves you having to carry poles, pegs, like a silly amount of pegs. And then in the winter, all you need to do is you just need to have your under blanket as an extra and a basher. Now, I'm one of these people that even if I take a tent, my basher's still there. My basher lives in my bergan for every event, no matter what I'm doing. It stays in there because it's a handy bit of kit to have, so I don't count that as extra weight. So in my opinion, especially if you're in woodland, like, yeah, fair enough, if you're out in the middle of the field and you've got nowhere to really set it up, then yeah, you're in a bit of trouble. But then just have a little bivvy bag with you. Do you know what I mean? It's not... For me, it's small and just enough room just to get your head down for a couple of hours here and there. And they're so easy to throw away. So literally once they're set up, it's 2 carabiners, straight off the tree, thrown in your bag. As long as you've got a dry bag in there, you can throw it all in wet. And that's it, job done. You can shift off again. That'd be my...
It's definitely...
Not, as I said...
I'm just going to jump on that. It's definitely one of the best nights of sleep you can have in the woods.
Yeah.
It's just... There's no other levels of comfort that I found personally, because fundamentally you're off the ground. You can have your sleep pads and everything like that, but your hammock is off the ground. You are going to be suspended. It's almost like cocooning yourself. It's just lovely. So
yeah, it's definitely getting more and more popular, I think, hammock camping. So the products that are coming out now are getting better and better. A good one is, I can't remember who makes it, but it's basically parachute material. And it's old parachute material that they can't use for parachuting anymore. So they've made them into hammocks, and it's the lightest thing that you've ever picked up in your life. The only thing that actually weighs, the 2 carabiners that come with it weigh more than the hammock itself. Like, and you think, wow, fair enough, it might be a bit nippy, but that's when you've got your under blanket.
Yep.
Under blanket and half decent sleeping bag, you'll have probably the best night's sleep in the woods that you'll have. And you don't have to worry about where you're setting up. One thing that I hate about tents.
I would say that with the hammock you do need. Well, that's the thing. A, you need 2 trees, and B, you need the trees far enough and close enough together. Like, they need to be roughly. There's no point having a big field with 2 trees that are like half a mile apart, because you ain't going to be using your hammock.
But that's where your jungle knot's like. But I mean, if you're in a woodland, and you've got like fallen trees everywhere, you've got brambles, you've got all manner of shit and debris on the floor, you don't have to spend 10 minutes clearing the debris. You just go click, click, done.
Yeah.
And then all you really need is just a little clear space for your bag, and you kick your boots off. But then again, if you're going to sleep in a hammock, you might as well sleep with your boots on.
Yeah. I would take mine off personally.
Yeah, I can't.
But
sleep
you
with
have the
boots
option.
On. Yeah.
No.
But there's a hammock I find in woodland, which is what a lot of airsoft sites are. It's very rare that you go to a sim and it's a 60-acre field. Because
apart from anything, the cover would be terrible.
Yeah, it would just be shit, wouldn't it? Where are they camping?
There they are.
Over there.
Yeah, they're there. I can see them. Oh, so there's a patrol going out. I can see them.
So for hard routines, I would say my go-to would be a hammock, and have a bivvy bag just thrown in. But as I said, that's part of my basic kit anyway. Bivvy bag and a basher always live in my bag anyway. So it's just tailoring what I'm going to sleep in, either tent or hammock. Yeah,
I think with the basher as well, it's always worth having something like a poncho or a basher, just something that you can throw over yourself if it does just start tipping it down, and you just want to literally just sit down and at least try and stay as dry as you can. Having something like that can be fairly invaluable, because there's nothing worse than not having any shelter at all. And the basher is so versatile, you can just literally rig it up quick, into like a rough shelter, or if you want to spend a bit more time on it, you can get some nice different angles and shapes and the like. But always have it easily accessible.
Yes.
So, for example, with myself, I don't know about you, Andy, but I put mine at the bottom of my bergan because I've got an access port at the bottom of my bergan, so I can just unzip that and grab it straight out. It sits in its own little dry bag, sort of keeps any moisture that it's got on it in the bag, fundamentally. For the event, make sure you dry it out when you get home.
So on mine, I have quite a nice pocket. It's an elongated pocket on the front, and it's fully waterproofed. It's meant to be for a certain bit of kit, but God knows what. But it works absolutely perfect. So what I've done is I've cut a little hole in the bottom, so it can go away wet, and I know for a fact that it's not going to get anything else wet because it's got its own bag, own pocket, and it literally fits the basher in there perfectly, and it just lives in there all the time. Obviously, if it goes away wet, it does come out, not so it doesn't just sit there and rot.
Yep. Defiant have interesting view on hammocks. So hammocks are shit for hard routine. You can't have it set low enough to the ground for concealment, and you need the trees the right distance apart. A basher can go up anywhere as long as you have something to rig it to, or poles. So that, I mean, that is obviously the converse with the basher.
Well, you can get them low enough. Ask the SEO guys.
You can if you set them up wrong.
Yeah. Ask the SEO guys. On the last one that we did, I had my hammock in a little defilade, and they didn't see it until they were almost on top of me, and they were like, and I had bright orange straps at that point. I hadn't changed them over to dark ones, and they still didn't notice until they got up close.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Ultimately, comes down to positioning, doesn't it? If you've got it again up high, anything you've got up high is going to be a lot more visible. But yeah, I mean, if we're to jump on to bashers and the like, so I want to sort of present the ground sleeping argument. So with a basher set up for this last weekend, we took a 2 by 2.5 sort of shape basher. That was enough for both me and my brother, and we both kept under that. He brought a ground sheet. Panic, it's all gone wrong. I think Andy's just ducked away for a second. So he brought a ground sheet, so we had sort of like one bit between us. We had 2 basher poles because we weren't sure exactly where we'd be camping out. So the basher poles basically just provided us the option that we could, if we needed to, set up away from some trees. Obviously, trees provide you with the alternative to rig your basher up to. We went with a full basher pole and half basher pole to try and provide a bit of a slant down, with the rest of it sort of pegged to the ground. We brought exactly 6 pegs for the basher and 4 pegs for the ground sheet, which was really annoying when a certain Danny decided to mess about with it at one point, and we lost one of the pegs for about half an hour, which was very, very frustrating. But thanks, Danny. And then with that set up, we obviously had our sleeping bags, bivvy bags, and sort of that's pretty much it, to be fair. So it's a much lower profile system. You can obviously sort of sneak those right down between logs and bits and pieces like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. You also can build cover up in front of where you're sleeping.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So you can build little barricades and stuff. And
that's why I always like having a basher on me. I like always have it on me. But if I want to get like a good night's sleep, then yeah, you do have to be a bit picky about where you set it up. Like, I was quite lucky at the last one. We had a bit of a defilade for me to kind of still have the height, but you couldn't see anything. And then with the basher, kind of like at a 45, it covered their view from the main road up the top. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like literally like what Defiant just said. You have to be picky with hammocks, like where you hang them. But I do like the low profile setup of a basher, because you can have them really low as well. Like you can have them almost flat.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. But then again, if you want a little bit of comfort, go for a hammock.
I mean, it does.
You can't beat.
It does depend on how much. It does depend on, ultimately the size of your game zone makes a big difference, because if your campsite, whilst with a hard routine style event, you might obviously have to tab in to where you're going to be camping. If there's a low risk of your campsite being bumped in the night because of the size of the site, or maybe some of the rules are you don't bump that event or that fob at that event, then obviously that might play into account with your different sleep systems, your shelter systems. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, my personal preference are a hammock is a much more comfortable night's sleep, but for a hard routine style event, I'll probably opt for a basher style because again, you just get that lower profile setup. The only thing I do find with the basher is that sometimes you do want to just sit up if it's pissing it down with rain, and you want a bit of cover over your head. So having it super low to the ground, sort of, you're talking maybe 2 feet.
Crawling in.
You are crawling into that, which is lovely and low profile, but it means that and warmer, but you are not going to be very comfortable if you want to try and sitting up. So you might find that you set it up for different ways in different events. So yeah. Call sign Chewbacca says, "Oh, sorry. What about the ones that have the ground sheet built in?" So I've not seen a basher with a ground sheet built in.
No, I haven't.
I've seen tents. But I don't mean to be flippant. I appreciate it's a very flippant response, but that's obviously just a tent. Ground sheet. So would you want to talk about tents briefly? Because obviously tents are oh, he's gone. Tents are obviously an alternative option.
Just burn my nose. People don't want to see that.
You can obviously get tents. The French, I think the one that Les was talking about, the little French... the Dutch Army tent, which is sort of a similar thing to the French Army tent. I mean, ultimately they're tents with poles.
But there's so many options out there for tents now. It's unreal. Like you can spend. Who does the £400 camo one?
Snug pack?
It's like light tent or something, and it's literally what they are like. The modern military, like that, all over the world use. The poles are made out of some sort of helium that's lighter than air. And do you know what I mean? Like it's beyond.
All my kit's flying away.
Yeah, like you have to put your kit in it, otherwise it just floats away. But do you know what I mean? It's things like that where with a tent, your world is your oyster. Like you can. The one that I run, which I find quite comfy, is who was it? Who made it again? Grand Canyon. And it's a 2-person tent, a single pole that goes from corner to corner. Literally throw that over, and you've got all your stuff in a dry space, and you've got enough room to sit up. With Airsoft, yes, you've got the added bonus of you have somewhere safe to take off your iPro. So you can zip up the tent, you can make it safe, you can take your iPro off, you can clean it, put it back on, open up the tent and go back out. Whereas hammock, bivvy, basher, all of those you have wide openings, so you have to be a lot more careful with like your iPro and sleeping with it on and things. And I do find a tent a lot more.
Sorry, the comments coming in. So Defiant says, if you're pitching a tent, that's not a hard routine. And Ceres has said, isn't that glamping?
Yeah.
And one of the products I just want to share to the group. So this is the Trekmates Storm Bivy Bag, which is effectively a 1-person tent. They're
not.
Hang on, bear with me. I've lost the. There we go.
Big image.
So that's obviously effectively a. I think they're sort of called hooped bivvies. I mean that's obviously when you peg down, so it's effectively a little mini tent. I would say that's probably the smallest tent that you're going to get. And then I wouldn't really go any bigger than like the French F1 tent, as Kenny said, or the Dutch Army tent if you really want to go down that route. But with tents, you're usually going to be carrying a lot more weight. The basher setups and bits and pieces like that are more versatile, as well as lighter generally. It's not always the case because obviously you're comparing apples and oranges. There's different companies that make different things. As you said, Andy, about your hammock or not yours, but the one made out of
the
parachute.
add-ons and the ones made out of parachute. It's as light as anything.
Dale's just said, "Yeah, I'm not fitting into that. Me in sleeping bags is bad enough. I'm like a fat caterpillar." If you suffer, Dale, with sleeping bag widths, because I'm not the thinnest either, you can actually get insertion panels that go between the two zips. So basically, it's like a maybe sort of 2 or 3 inches of additional sleeping bag panel that you can zip in. I actually bought 2 for my my current sleeping bag that I use, not because I needed to. I can fit in the sleeping bag with just the one, but the 2 just gives like a bit of extra room. I appreciate I'm sacrificing volume in terms of I've got more sleeping bag I now need to heat up, but I personally like a little bit more wriggle room when I'm in my sleeping bag. So I find those quite useful. I think you can get them for snug back kits as well. Mine's a mounted equipment sleeping bag. I know you can get them for that. So yeah, have a look at expansion panels, or I think Snugpack call it the expander. So you just need to bear in mind left or right. Yeah, that's the problem, is trying to find them. But they do. Dan just says I have an expander panel on my Snugpack Merlin.
That's it. Luke Carpenter, Light Fighter, the Light Fighter tent. My days. That's the tent that I want to get, and that in my mind that is glamping. Weighs nothing. Looks absolute legit.
I will look it up quickly.
I think it's about 500, 600 quid.
I mean, that's the thing. These shelter systems are obviously designed for you're going into a slightly more challenging environment. I would argue that probably most events that you go to, you're not going to be suffering really, really kind of obscene weather. Light Fighter 1 has successfully protected thousands of warfighters during CONUS field training emergency response missions while deployed to multiple hotspots around the world. I mean, it's a nice bit of kit, don't get me wrong. I don't know if that's the same. That is the same thing.
That is the same one. You can buy leg kits and everything for them.
Yeah.
So you're up off the ground in snowy conditions.
Cool.
But it's lovely. But then again, that $345?
$350, yeah.
Yeah. So
which with the interest rate as it's going.
Yeah. My hammock cost me 50 quid, all in, and my tent cost me 60, and my basher cost me 25, and my bivvy 12. Yeah. There are cheaper options out there, but it's still nice, isn't it? Mm. Plus, it's multi-cam.
Sorry, Defiance just said Mike rocking an extra 6 inches of comfort in his bag. Yeah, mate. I've actually got 12 inches because of the 2 panels. Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Double 6 inches.
Les said his Dutch Army tent was £25 for it, and one of the best buys for MilSim in his opinion. So there you go. I mean, that's the thing. Ultimately, you got horses for courses. You'll find out personally what you like. Ultimately, when you go out and try these things out. Unfortunately, there aren't the ability to go to MilSim stores and the like and sit there and go, right, I want to sleep in this tent for 24 hours to see if I like it or not. You don't have that capability, unfortunately. So you will find that there's things that you like that we don't like, and things that we like that you don't like. So
at the end of the day, it is only we're there to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
And most people won't enjoy themselves if they don't get a good night's sleep.
No.
That's a fact. There's some weirdos out there, like me, Mike and Lance, that actually quite like staying up for 5 hours on the stag and not getting any sleep.
I did 3 hours of stag duty this weekend on my own, and I nearly... Oh, yeah, it was horrible.
But having somewhere just to chip back to... So we say hard routine. You've got Airsoft hard routine, haven't you? It's not like... If I was really going for it, I'd probably just rock up with a bivvy bag, my mat, and a basher, and just throw my sleeping bag and everything in the bivvy bag, and just have the basher just basically just stop the rain falling on my face. That's it really. And just keep your kit dry. But I am a larger lad. I am a bit soft as I'm getting older, and I do enjoy my hammocks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which
is why we've been saying hard routine.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, it depends on your event. I mean, if you're going to be doing the event that we went to was an escape and evade mission, so the whole point was that we wanted to keep our fob as low profile as possible. So, you know, nicest possible way. If somebody had turned up with a hammock at that point, you know, right, you camp over there and we'll camp here, because if there's a risk that that's going to implicate the context of the game and the mission, then obviously that is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, exactly. But also as well, it is down to the person that goes with the hammock to choose the appropriate place for them to set up. So if someone turned up with a tent that's, say, green, that's got like, well, I don't know who makes it, but the ones that put the massive yellow lantern on one side of the tent, if someone turns up with that, it's down to them as the person that's going to be sleeping in that tent to make sure that they're looking after their visibility and their effects on the terrain around them as well.
Should we jump onto bags? I'm conscious we've got a few things to talk about, and we've spent the first half hour just talking about the shelters, which is still important. But there's a few bits and pieces we want to talk about. So bag size. I know that there was for this event that we went to, there was a range of about 50 litres, I believe, up to 120. Myself, I took a 90 litre Virtus Bergan, fit everything in that. It was heavy, but I got everything in there. What's your bag size, Andy?
I'm just googling it now because I can't actually remember the size of it. It is, while it loads,
I mean, ultimately, your bag size is going to depend on the amount of stuff you want to bring. More stuff, more weight. So, you know, it's something to consider. And effectively, the bigger the bag you have, you will probably find that you are trying to justify more in it.
Yeah.
So if you've got a massive bag and you're like, oh, I can just chuck that in, I've got space. Do you actually need it at that point? Whereas if you have a smaller bag, you're having to justify a lot more about, right, I haven't got a lot of space. What can I fit in? What don't I need? What do I need?
I find so the Warrior X300, which is what I run, it says it is 80 litres without filling the side panel. So that's just the main body. So I would say it's probably about 85 litres in total. And for a 24-hour, I've struggled to fill that comfortably. Because for 24 hours, you don't really, when you look at it, you don't really need that much, in my mind. Change your pants, change your socks, waterproofs, sleeping system for food, and a cooking system. You kind of... It's hard. Like, it's hard to work out how much you actually need. Like, if I'm running the LMG, then I take up a lot of room. A lot of that 80 litres is ammunition.
Yep.
But if I'm running the Mark 18, then I tend to just take out one speed loader with me, because that's all I tend to use for that event.
I mean, we obviously talk about on the on our typical kit list. We talk about having your welfare kit, your cooking set, kit bag itself, food and hydration, your PPE, weapon and accessories, your toolkit, any game-related items, personal accessories, your sleep system, your clothes, and then your shelter system. So, you know, you kind of need to have a look at what you want to take with you, and then...
Evening Costas. So I'm just saying hello to someone that's just popped up.
Okay. You need to obviously bear in mind what you want to take in relation to your bag size, because you will probably struggle if you take a larger bag and you fill it with everything. You're going to struggle with weight, hands down. You know, if you take a smaller bag, you're going to potentially struggle with trying to fit everything in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. There we go. Defiance says, anyone else prefer a large bag, Bergen? So if you have to bug out quickly, you can shove your sleeping bag in quick, roll up your basher, and be on the move in moments. And completely agree.
Yeah.
You know, it's making sure that the bag you take, you don't just fill to the brim because you can. It's really important to rationalise what you're bringing with you, which you unfortunately learn over time.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if there's anyone in the chat that didn't pack in a ridiculous way the first event that they went to. So
the one thing that I've learned from doing them is try and stick to a system. Try and have it so you always pack your bag up in the same way. So in your mind you know exactly where to go in the pitch black. Oh shit, I need baby wipes. I know they're in the top left hand pocket. Or I need some food or water or purification tablet. I know that's all in my top pocket of my bergan and things like that. I think having a system of packing works out well, and having dry bags, everything in individual dry bags means that you can sort everything out. I've got, see on mine I've put little coloured reflective tape. So when you've got your red torch on, when you look at it, each bag's got its own little tape on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, all right, well that one's showing up orangey under the red light, so I know that's got my food in it. This one's showing up blue. So you do get used to it on how you pack. But like what Defiant said, I'm not sure who it is today. I think it's James.
I think it's James.
James, yeah. Like James said, you've got to leave room for just stuffing it in. So if you do get bumps, you need to shift over. Just have a big bag. I have a big rubble bag that lives in the bottom of the bag, and literally anything that's wet that needs to get thrown down, basher, hammock, anything just gets all thrown into that, sealed up, sleeping bag on top, and then everything else just gets piled in. You can sort it out when you get out of danger.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one because ultimately, I personally don't have the bags labelled up, the little dry bags and the like. What I generally tend to do is when I pack them, I know what the largest or weirdest shape in there is. So, for example, I had two of these little Highlander. I think these are the 2 litre ones. And I knew that one had my power bank in, which is obviously I knew what was in there. And then the other one I knew that was sort of welfare related items, that had my heat packs and bits and pieces like that. So like the little flannel and stuff. So it is getting used to making sure that you put things away as well afterwards, because again, with the risk of getting bumped at these sorts of events, you don't want to be repacking your entire bergan because you've turned up to an event and just gone poof. As you use something, pack it away. Make sure it's back where it lives.
Definitely.
So that what you've got out is the bare minimum stuff that you've got out. So if you're sleeping, you will have your sleeping kit out. When you finish sleeping, don't leave your sleeping kit out. Pack it away, get it all ready to go. So worst case, all you've got to do is take the basher down or your ground sheet or whatever you've got out, and just scrumple that up and you can go. So that's another little sort of key tip for that one. Cool. Do you want to talk about food and cooking?
Yeah. So for me, I try to keep it as bare minimum as possible. So I tend to use, because I don't really drink hot drinks at all. I'm one of those weird ones that don't drink tea or coffee or hot chocolates or anything like that. I don't feel the need, for me personally, to have the ability to be able to boil anything. So I tend to just use the flaming ration heaters to heat up a hot meal. I'd rather have a hot meal than a hot drink. So literally all I have to do is have my water, have my 24-hour ration pack and a couple of heaters, which obviously saves space in the long run. That would be my one. Plus you're not having to sit there listening to the jet boil go off for 15-20 minutes sounding like a little mini rocket in the corner of the where you're set up, or a little flame that's giving it away, or especially at night, a little flame can actually make quite a bit of a difference. You don't have to worry about flames catching fire onto anything else, any dry debris that's around. I'm a big fan of the flameless ration heaters when they work. So I do take extra.
I used one this weekend, and whilst it was working fine, the heating on it obviously wasn't quite as uniform as you would get if you were to sort of put your meal pouch in a jet boil or something like that. Just because ultimately the heating thing on the British Army ones is on one side. It's quite small.
Mm-hmm.
So you do kind of have to massage it quite a little bit to try and get the pouch contents to kind of move past the heater and sort of try and heat up. But yeah, I know Lance used the Dragon Fuel, a little sort of BCB Dragon Fuel kit.
Oh right, yeah.
To heat up water with his. I know there was a couple jet boils there, but for the most part, yeah, it was quite a quiet weekend in terms of cooking, which worked quite well. It's definitely something to consider, those flameless ration pack heaters, though, because you know the ability that you don't have to use a lot of water for one thing. So if you're not someone that kind of regularly drinks hot drinks, then you're boiling water for the sake of just heating up your food, which is ultimately a bit of a waste, especially if you want it to drink.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important on that front. But, Defiant have said our upcoming event in early March will be tough, but I wouldn't call it hard routine because we will allow red light cooking systems and talking.
Ooh.
So
And
that would probably be something that I would say we were quite bad at this last weekend, was the talking, to be honest. I know a few times we were quite noisy, but I don't know if it was probably a case of a bit of excitement for having been out there, and because it was an invite only event and we obviously all knew each other. It had been a while since we'd all seen each other and sort of just hung out, which is obviously quite a challenge, because ultimately you go to Airsoft with your mates, and it's nice to see them. If you haven't seen these people in a while, it's the opportunity to catch up. So it is a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. But this is what I mean as well. Like we're calling it a hard routine, and obviously there's quite a few people that listen to us that do proper hard routines, and they do it for a living. So they are literally out there in a field for days on end, and they are literally doing hard routine. And I think it's individual as well on what people class it as a hard routine. What I would class as a Airsoft hard routine would be not having a soft FOB or an FOB undercover, or a building to sleep in. That would be what I would class as an Airsoft hard routine. A personal hard routine for me would be anything that I have to get up and move on. But no, but for me, a hard routine would be literally living out your bag for 2-3 days, which we tend not to really get in Airsoft because not many people want to do that sort of thing. I think it is missing.
I think there's a growing market for it at the moment. I mean, the fact that Defiant have obviously seen it as enough people want to do it to obviously run an event like that. I mean, the SEO one, I know that was obviously an invite only, but ultimately it's still an event that's happening like that. I think some Sterling events are like that. Please someone correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think Sterling have done a couple like that where it's out on the field, and that's it. Like, you're living out your bag. But I think for a lot of people would class as an Airsoft hard routine would be not having a camp bed, basically, and not having the tent and not being allowed those little bits of luxury. That would be my take on it.
Yeah. If we cover essentials quickly, I've got a few things I wanted to just cover as essential items in my mind. And it's something that, weirdly enough, Terry and I had quite a long chat over at the weekend. But a little foam pad to sit on. I know this one looks a bit gross. It's because it's been out and about and properly used and abused. This is a mounting equipment, a mounting warehouse. Sorry, a little sort of fold-out foam pad. It's still a little bit juicy from the weekend.
Oh, bum sweat.
Yeah, that's just water. But basically, these are really good little bits of kit. If you are, basically, if the ground's wet, it's muddy or anything like that, you need to kneel or you need to sit down, rather than running the risk of that water getting into the trousers near your arse and making you feel a bit cold and wet and damp. Having a little foam pad like this, it folds up relatively small. It can sort of fold in half if you really need it to. You can sort of slot that in your bergan fairly easily. It's not going to take up too much space. It's a massive saver when it comes to just sort of, protecting your bum from the cold and the wet, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
It's something I always carry with me. Funnily enough, this one is actually the one that I think we've talked about this before. We did an event where I ran a Valen metal detector with the pressurized blue spray on. So when you detect an IED or a mine or basically all the scrap metal that was in the ground at the time, you can pull a little trigger on the Valen and it sprays a blue dye. I managed to sit in my basher while I was taking this thing apart, and the pressurization broke, so that you can sort of still see the blue dye
See a bit of blue.
on that, because there was blue dye everywhere, which was great fun. Another couple of things that you definitely need a MilSim are a watch. The number of people I see at MilSims without a watch, it is unforgivable, because if you're trying to coordinate an attack, or you need to know what time you're on stag, or anything like that, having a watch is very, very important.
The worst one is when when they pick up their phone and you're sitting there and you're all lying in wait, and they pick up their phone to check the time, and it's pitch black, and then all of a sudden you see the light just beaming over their face, and you kind of look at them and you think, fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen too many people use their phone as a watch, to be fair, but
I have.
just the number of people that don't know what the time is when they're on an event, it's not great. And right, I'm sorry, hang on a second. Ray just says, you see, once you start carrying cushions to keep your bum dry, it's not really hard routine, is it? Bergens make good seats, but ultimately skin is waterproof. And Defiance says, I must have my little cushion for my hard routine game. Soft as shit routine. Sorry, Mike. No, I completely disagree with you, because I, again, spent 3 hours on Stag on Saturday night, just basically sitting on the ground, watching the camp and making sure. And without that, I would have been a lot more cold and a lot more miserable. So for me, that's a little creature comfort that I don't mind taking, because I'm still out and about. It's just merely stopping myself from getting my bum wet. And it was Terry that we were talking about that, funnily enough, because I believe it was you, Terry, that you used to carry a little foam pad when you were serving, for exactly that same reason. You want to just avoid getting a little bit wet if you can, unnecessarily. If it's not raining and the ground's damp, it's just an opportunity to avoid getting a. I think Terry actually also said when he was running the GPMG, he used to stick it down his trousers to stop to stop the recoil or something as well. So yeah, Terry, please correct me if I'm wrong. The other thing I wanted to just talk about was the head torch. Having a head torch, I appreciate that. Obviously, if you are in any way light controlled or anything like that, it could be, it's obviously something you don't want to have on all the time. But for airsoft events, especially if there is an issue that you need either red light or, that worst case, white light, to do something, it's quite important. Sorry, Define Event says your bum's full of insulation, Mike. I've seen it. How? And Ray says Terry is old and served during the Napoleonic Wars with Sharp and used to sit on his silly hat. Yeah, so having if you're at an event where you're not sort of light controlled or anything, like there's no light discipline, then red light's obviously a lot better. A, it helps maintain your night vision, but B, it doesn't travel necessarily quite as far. So you're not just illuminating the whole forest.
Yeah.
and you know it's about
But
keeping
you've got
down
to
low.
You got like guys literally they throw their jackets over their heads
Yeah.
and they put a torch on to read a map or something.
Yeah.
It's not always a bad thing to have a little torch with you. I have a white light on all of my weapons, including my sidearm, and I have one in a little pouch just for that reason. The one thing that I do is I actually put half-used batteries in my little handheld torch because it makes it not as bright.
No, that's a good idea.
It's a
Or
bit
just
annoying.
doesn't last as long.
Yeah, it just doesn't last as long.
I go to use my torch and it's flat. Never mind.
Yeah. No, there is a fine line, and it has backfired a couple of times where you kind of go click and then it just goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest if you're going to get a head torch, something with a red on first. So this is a little one from Decathlon. This is the 4-class head torch. I think these are about like 12 quid each or something like that. They're not the most waterproof, but you know, ultimately, it's not the end of the world if it dies on its arse. They're rechargeable. It's got white light if you absolutely need it. Defiance is the Gerber Recon is a great admin light. You know, having something as a red light can be quite useful. And the other aspect as well is from a safety point of view. If you're at an event where red light indicates that you're hit at night, depending on what they use in the game that you're in. So obviously during the day it might be like a dead rag or something like that. At night it might be red light. So again, having a red light on you can be quite helpful.
Yeah.
If you are dead and you need to return to a certain respawn zone or anything like that, it just, you know, it helps on that front. So definitely need a head torch.
One of my big bugbears is people not having a pen and paper, and that you have a briefing, it's all gone through, and by the time you've loaded up, there's always 2 or 3 people that turn around and go, "So what we're doing?" And you're like, you could just make a couple of little notes, like in your notepad, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but what happens if I get captured?" Screw it up. Screw it up. Eat it. Like, it's a bit of paper. Like, just have something that you can make notes on. It's not hard. You can have it in your sleeve pocket. Most things come with a large enough pocket now to fit in a waterproof pencil and pad, and they're not much. They're only £5. Just buy a pen and paper. Please.
Yeah.
Not A4 size or something like that and start writing down.
I brought an A3 sketch pad.
But it's just simple things like that. And your wash kit. Make sure that your wash kit's properly stocked. Little mini toothbrushes from the hotels. You can buy them in travel ones from Tesco's now. Like, you don't have to have a lot. You're only there for 24 hours or 48 hours, depending on the event. Like one of those little...
So this, funnily enough, this is my wash kit. So this is it full fits inside the Snug Pack 1 litre pack box, which will nicely sit in my tanker bag. And in here I've got all sorts of things. I actually use this, funnily enough, I've packed this proficiently enough that if I go to a hotel or, you know, say I go away at Christmas and stay with relatives, I will just grab this because I know that this has everything in it that I'll need. So I've got little Diddy deodorant, various bits and pieces like that. I've got burn gel, anti-back hands cream, Germaline, working hands in these little tubs. They're all taped shut because they did at one point fall open. Toothpaste, little fold-out toothbrush.
Oh, look at that.
Which works quite well.
I like that. Where'd you get that from?
Amazon, I believe.
I'm just running around with a toothbrush that I've hacksaw the end off on.
I'll send you a link because these are really good. Deep cream. It's all like odd little bits and pieces that I restrict myself to that being my welfare kit basically. So if I can't fit it in there, it's definitely not coming with me. But that's my welfare kit. But another thing I did just want to talk about is the shit kit as well.
Yeah.
This is my shit kit. and he's basically, fundamentally, a tiny shovel and some toilet paper. Because there is nothing worse than being out in the woods. You need a poo. Some events will make you carry away it with you. If you are going to go full SAS on an event, then obviously, yes, I do take a full grooming kit. I'm not going to. I'll carry that around. If you're going to go to an event and go full SAS, and obviously you can poo into cling film and do all that if you like and take it out with you, you're more than entitled to. We were fortunate enough to be at an event that you could dig a hole and leave it in the ground. So yeah.
Always double bag it. Or triple bag it. Don't just use one. Also, one thing that I found is quite a good one is if you are doing one where the organisers want you to take it with you, get yourself some dog bags. Heavy duty, Great Dane poo bags. That's what they're designed for. And then put them in a Sealy bag.
Yeah. Plus, everyone should learn to poo in the woods. Because I'm not going to talk about this on the show because it's disgusting, but I have a very, very horrific story about pooing in the woods.
You got to share it now.
Which is where it went. Maybe next week. But on the it went horrifically wrong. So one little tactic or technique that I have found is that if you do take a poo bag, you can hold your hand underneath and catch it, which it works. I'm just saying it works, and it makes life a lot easier than shitting into your trousers.
Don't shit in your trousers. Take your trousers off, shit on the floor, pick it up like you would with a dog.
We'll talk about this next week because there's a whole story to this where it went awfully wrong. Awfully wrong.
Kenny, did you miss the floor?
Yeah. Oh no, I got the floor. I got everything. No, the burn gel, by the way, is I've suffered multiple burns at events, either by pyro going off on my skin, or from a fire that went a little bit wrong. So that's why I take burn gel, by the way. Mm-hmm. If anyone's interested.
And also,
cam cream.
A lot of people, if you're not taking cam cream and you don't want to wear it, sun cream. The amount of people that I see the next day, or especially in the summer games, and they've got the iPro sunburn line, where they've been wearing UV protection goggles, and they've got the line there of just where they've just burnt their face when they've been sat in the sun.
This wasn't a hard routine event. This was a Legion event down in Lyd. But there was a guy down there on the Op 4 who we were out for the entire day. And he was just in a t-shirt and it was raging sun all day. And literally this guy came back at the end of the day and he was red as a lobster. I mean, I'm talking like almost like your jumper. Like all over. He was absolutely red. And because he just hadn't looked after himself. Which is horrific. So yeah, I mean, if you are prone to the sun causing issues, then obviously bear that in mind. You can get little pots of sun cream if you need it.
Yeah.
And I get the comments in the chat about all these little things are it's not hard routine, etc., etc. All to me that it demonstrates that you're able to look after yourself in the field. Now, granted, there are certain things that you will have as luxuries. For example, I don't take a pillow. Some people do take a pillow.
No.
Some people will prefer to take a little bit of extra chocolate with them or something like that. People will have certain things with them that they want and they deem worth taking. But I think the thing that ultimately with any event in the woods or where you are living out of your bergan is you need to be able to demonstrate that you can look after yourself. If you come out of the woods and you're dying on your ass, then obviously it's not ideal.
It's like,
what's that? Sorry, what's Ian saying?
That's all right. Yeah, I was just saying.
Shovel recce or poo in a bag worked for me in the sandbox. What's a shovel recce?
A shovel recce is where you go out into the distance.
Oh, okay, right.
To dig a hole.
It's only because I've done a bit of wild camping as well, and we came up with the whole shit shovel flick method, where you shit on your shovel and you just flick it, and then it's job done. I wasn't sure if it was something along those lines. Yeah.
Please say that you called.
We never actually did that. It was just we never actually did that, but it's just a running joke. It's the shit shovel flick. Cam cream. I just wanted to talk briefly about cam cream. So if you are looking at cam cream, personally, I quite like these sort of style ones. This is a 3-tone with a mirror. The mirror obviously helps. There you go. You can see yourselves. The mirror helps in terms of applying that. You don't definitely need one with a mirror. You can get the little sticks as well that work quite well. The only thing I would say is that some cam cream is more superior than other cam creams. This is a BCB one that I find is quite good. I have found recently a load of replica NATO ones that it appears that someone has basically used the NATO casing and refilled it with something or other.
Because normal face paint.
It's not even face paint. This stuff goes rock hard, and you just can't get it out. It's almost just like a thick clay. You're sort of trying to get this stuff off the pad, and you're applying it onto your face, and it's just rolling up into like little strings of stuff. So that's not great. So it's definitely worth checking this sort of stuff before you take it with you, because there's nothing worse than when you get out and about. You can't apply it because that would just be a complete waste of time. Sorry, everyone's talking about different ways to shit in the ground. Rage says, just dig a small hole. What is wrong with you people? Afraid of the Dark says, jump on the shovel with it facing you. Feels like doing an AI event. Ooh. I didn't read that before I read that out. Defiant events, but if the enemy were to find your poo, they could tell what you've been eating and make a guess at the state of your morale. Because MilSim.
It's for the immersion.
Defiant events. BCB is made by Max Factor, which will make Mike feel better. James, you've been very mean to me tonight. There is nothing wrong.
You, isn't he?
I know. I find the BCB stuff works really well. It applies well, and job done. One thing I do want to just add to this,
Do you have
I will get ribbing for this because this is exactly what I was just going to yes.
Twat.
I bought some Garnier micellar cleaning water because the number of times that I left events where I had what looked like poo stuck to my face.
I'm sorry, guys.
Because it doesn't always come off.
Worth it.
So this stuff works quite well. Sort of like doesn't work well with toilet roll because toilet roll dissolves quite quickly. So you want like a cleaning
makeup
rag
pad.
or something like that, a makeup pad or something like that.
Removing pad.
I don't take this with me. To clarify, this does not go in the bergan. This stays in the car. But this is just for after events. Why are you showing us makeup remover, Mike? Because it's good.
It's good.
It's good for removing it because I struggled myself, and somebody out there might benefit from that. There you go. It's not baby oil, it's makeup remover. Leave me alone.
No, the baby oil comes in a bigger tub.
This is Kevin says Mike Fraser boots cucumber face wipes.
Yeah,
that's a MilSim.
After the event, he sits in his car.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing though. The number of people that go, oh Mike, can I just borrow that? Oh, can I just borrow that? Oh, thanks, Mike. So
everyone will be after your little pad. Oh, Mike, I'm on stag. My bum's getting wet. Can I nick your sanitary pad?
No, you get a wet wipe. You get a
wet pipe.
Ian says best way to get cam cream off is wet wipes. See, I tried wet wipes, and some cam creams it doesn't touch. So yeah, that makeup remover stuff works quite well. Defiant says, fuck a duck, Mike. There are young female Instagram influencers with more manly content. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, Andy?
Oh, no, I think you fucked it, ain't you, really? But let's have a little look on our list of talking points.
Clothing-wise, yeah, I would suggest obviously making sure you've got clothing appropriate for the event. If it's going to rain, bring a raincoat. Gore-Tex,
So do you
MTP
take
jacket
trousers?
or something like that.
Do you take waterproof trousers with you?
No, I don't. The reason being is that I'm just not that fucked if my legs get a bit wet. To be fair, they generally tend to dry off. If it's the main thing is reading the weather forecast before the event to try and gauge what you might need to bring. If it is going to be proper pissing it down all weekend, then I might reconsider bringing some MTP waterproofs if it's an MTP event or similar. How about you?
I used to throw one in the bag all the time, but then, like you, it took up room, and I was just like, oh, do you know what? The amount of time that I've actually put them on, or by the time I put them on, I'm already soaking wet anyway, so there's no point in actually taking them. So all I do now is just spare pairs of socks and underwear, foot powder and a towel. They're my luxuries. Like if I get soaking wet, just getting all the wet stuff off and just baby powdering yourself up, so you're nice.
Sorry, I'll bring that comment in a sec.
Yeah, just a little tub of it, just to dry yourself off. I think that's the main thing. Because if you're out in the field, you're not going to stop and put your waterproof trousers on. But I did used to. I did used to, back in the early days. I used to carry them around with me all the time. But then by the time I got back to the FOB or my camp, I was soaking wet anyway, so there's no point.
Yeah, I mean, I personally find the trousers generally just tend to dry out as long as you're warm. And for me, personally, it makes a lot more difference to my body temperature if I get a cold top half. Mm-hmm. So if it's proper pissing it down and you're a stag, whack a waterproof jacket on or something like that, because it just stops you from getting wet needlessly. If you're out and about, and you're mid-game and it starts to rain, then a few drops of water aren't going to kill you. We've obviously talked before about earlier in the chat about skin ultimately is waterproof. Kevin makes a good point there about issue gaiters, keep your lower legs and boot uppers dry. So gaiters are obviously quite a good one for that. Again, if your feet get wet, I know. If your feet get wet, having good drills in terms of keeping your feet dry as much as you can. So don't run around in wet socks and boots for the rest of the event because you've trodden in one puddle in the first hour. Sealskin socks are obviously good to sort of, if you've got wet boots, wear those until your boots dry out a bit and then you can change them out again. I mean, Ray just said there, waterproof trousers are pretty pointless, just make you sweat and get crotch rot. I mean, it's the same with raincoats as well. If you're running around in an extra layer of Gore-Tex, it's going to make you warmer than if you weren't. So, it ultimately depends on what you want to do and what you're doing at the time.
Event, innit?
I mean, for example, say you're there's one particular guy I know that spends a lot of time as a rear gunner in a Land Rover. So the three of them generally tend to sort of go to an event with the Land Rover, and he spends a lot of time as the rear gunner in that. That makes perfect sense to be wearing full waterproofs because ultimately you're standing there,
not
gunning around. So but yeah, they do make a lot of noise. They do make you warm. Ian Rose says, "No, I wonder who sells a lot of this stuff at a decent price." But yeah,
Ian has a shop.
Oh, okay. Right. There you go. Ian, let us know. Put in the chat where your shop is. We can give you a little plug for you. Ray says, but a raincoat keeps your core dry, which in the cold really helps with not getting hypothermia. Yeah. So this is the thing. I mean, you need to be careful about what you're doing. So again, we had this last weekend. We were off on a tasking. It was pissing it down with rain when we left. We put raincoats and bits and pieces on. We tabbed to the location we needed to be at. The rain had eased off at that point. So for me, I just took the raincoat off and packed it into my pouch on the back of my bergan. Not my bergan, on my plate carrier. Mm-hmm. So, it was easy enough. I've got it on me.
So were you webbing last weekend, or you?
No, I wore my plate carrier. I haven't yet got my webbing set fully sorted out. My plate carrier setup is kind of a combination of webbing and plate carrier, in that I've got my battle belt sort of system all sort of rigged together. But I was going to run pure webbing, but my radio, comms, and hydration are all kitted into my plate carrier.
Right.
And I haven't yet had a chance to basically set up that in
that
a
side of things, yeah.
in a webbing set sort of setup, basically.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. Did you want to do a from the vault? I have something we can talk about.
Yeah, well, you can then. Have you got the sound for from the vault?
I do. From the vault. we need to work on that. We've got the music, but so there's two little things I just want to talk about on the back of this episode. So this is the Night Eyes self-restraining carabiner. These aren't for climbing, but what this allows you to do, I think we have to sort of talk about this briefly on the show before. I'll just make myself a little bit bigger if that's right, Andy.
Yeah, you can take the whole screen if you want.
Yeah, sorry.
Pop around in the background.
So this is a little carabiner clip, nice and simple on that end. It has a self-attaching sort of cam system on that, which means that you can set that up on a guy line or anything like that. It's taut on one side but allows you to pull through on the other. It's quite a nice little tool. It's got a max load of 127 kilograms, and it does sort of paracord between 2 and 5 mil. So if you need a temporary guy line or anything like that, so for example, I mean, I wouldn't suggest using it for a basher because you can use jungle knots and things like that, which are permanently attached. But if you need to run a guy line for something or other, so say, I don't know, you've got some sort of temporary line that you want to throw up for, I can't genuinely think of why. I've never used this. So there you go. That's a really good explanation as to how good this is.
Would you not use that with, like, say, going back to the hammock side of things, would you not use that for your, like, tension line over the top?
You could use it for your tension line. Yeah, I mean,
things like that.
Again, I've never used it because I just use a tighter knot, to be fair, or the jungle knots. But it is a useful little tool, and I'm sure that somebody out there, I mean, this is the whole premise. To me, make myself not so big again, it's giving me a complex. The whole premise of this from the vault is sort of stuff that we don't necessarily use a lot, but we have, and we sort of want to just talk about. I'm sure that there is a use for this out there somewhere for somebody. It could replace jungle knots, etc. If you've got it set up for that. But it is quite a nice little, self-tensioning line that, say, quite a good strength on that. So, an alternative to that, funnily enough, is this little thing. I actually bought 4 of these off of eBay for like £3. So I'll just take the paracord out of that.
Was that the self-looping?
So this is basically the self-looping. So the idea of this is that you have your... Sorry, I haven't melted the end of the paracord.
You've got to make yourself bigger again.
Yeah, I know. Hang on. I'm not going to be able to set this up properly. The idea of this is that you've got a number of loops on there that you can actually pull these things through. And that creates its own lock on the paracord. But it's just a cheaper way of doing it, basically. So you can't... well, I can actually. I mean, it's not that taut, but the idea is that it's like a little locking carabiner type thing. Basically, I don't know a lot about them. I have used these though. I've used these for setting up gazebos and bits and pieces, where you don't necessarily want to cut loads of paracord and tighten it all up and etc. So if you're just throwing a gazebo up for the day, I think we added a few extra guy lines. The guy lines didn't come with the self-tensioning straps, so these were just a few little bits that we could just strap on there quickly, and worked quite well on that front. So yes, they're quite good. So that wasn't awful, but it was a go from the vault.
It'll have to be me next week. I will bring a bit of plastic.
I know Rage was asking about the Night Eyes carabiner clip. I'll send you a link, mate. So there you go. It's not a cock ring.
Yeah, I think Ian also. I think Rosie said what he's.
Oh, did he mention the shop?
I think so.
There we go. 2-4 Delta Surplus.
There you go.
So little shop there. Cheeky plug.
There you go. All for
Go and
free.
have a look. There you go. Cool. Anything else?
No, I think we've kind of waffled. We've waffled on for an hour and a half.
We definitely have waffled on. I know we're obviously over time on this one. Did you want to just do another quick Riff Sim plug for next week?
Yes. If you're not doing anything next weekend, come and play Riff Sim with me and Rosie and I don't know who else is in there. Costas, I think, and some other people. It's good fun. As I said, you're going to get a lot for your money. 75 quid ain't bad for a weekend. Plus you get a free ration pack of your choice. There'll be lots of vegetarian options going. Yeah, no, it'll be good. Like some of the gameplay that we've got planned, like the medic rules and things, is going to be good. So the medics have morphine, and once they use up their morphine, you don't just walk back to your FOB. You have to call in a medivac. So your commanding officer can either choose to send out another medic and medic you all back with a supply run, or the vehicle can come and get you and take you back to the FOB. That'll be a good gameplay style. As I said, each team's going to have 2 vehicles. Vehicles can only be destroyed by engineers. Can only be destroyed by demolitions experts. Can only be repaired by engineers. So everyone's going to have a very specific little role within the weekend.
How are the vehicles destroyed out of interest?
With a bomb.
Ah, okay. Fair enough. I wasn't sure if it might be some sort of like shoulder-mounted system or...
No, literally, from what I understand, they can be destroyed by grenades. You can shoot the... I don't think you can shoot the drivers, but you can ambush them when they've stopped. I think you can stop a vehicle by using smoke, but I might need to double check on that one. But there's whole rules up on the Facebook group and stuff now. But it's going to be more in depth than what people originally planned. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good one. And plus, I'll be there. So
cool. And for those of you that have booked on to Defiance event also next weekend, I shall see you there.
Have fun. Or will they see you there?
Maybe I will be there. Yeah. No, at this point I will be there. So hopefully, if anyone's there, come say hello. It'd be cool to see.
Yes. Hope it all goes well for the Defiant lads. They always run a good event.
Well, I don't know the amount of abuse I've suffered this evening. I don't know if I want to wish them well or not at this point.
Well, you'll be there. It'll be physical abuse when you're there.
I know. I was talking to him last night, and I was offering to bring a few bits and pieces to make James a bit happy, and he's giving me all this abuse tonight. It's very rude. Yeah. He's got
to treat you mean to keep you keen. That's
I know.
That's what it is.
They're just nice guys. And let them get away with it. It's fine. I'm looking forward to next week though. It should be good.
Yes.
I wish that I could actually attend some of these events, but unfortunately, having already attended one last week, I can only do one a month at the moment. So Dan says, "Bring your makeup, Mike." I'll do your makeup, Dan. Don't worry. That could have been my character. I could have just gone and go, "Hello, I am the makeup man."
With your little French beret. With a little toggle on top.
Actually, talking of dressing like that, Defiant James has said, "Look, mate, I'm going to look like a nonce all weekend for you guys." So massive shout out to James, who is shaving his facial hair because he's raised some money towards our RBLI campaign. So he's doing that for us. So yeah, I'll take the insults for a little while, James, because you have done us a solid favour by doing that.
Yes, mate. Yeah, 100%.
And we will no doubt post a picture of James looking as he does next week, which would be good. So yeah,
very much looking forward to seeing it.
Cool. Next week, obviously, we are not going to be here on Wednesday.
One
We will be
Wednesday.
here on the Saturday. So Saturday 29th will be our 100th episode. It'll be from 7 o'clock, so a slight change of programming. But we're running 7 till 9, so it's a full 2-hour episode. We will be having the results of our RBLI raffle. We've got games. We've got all sorts of bits and pieces. We're going to be live
Giveaways.
from Empire Airsoft events. Live from Empire Airsoft's shop. I just
now
made
have
up events. They
Yeah.
just run events as well. So thanks to Kenny over at Empire Airsoft for having us over there next week. We're really looking forward to it. It should be an exciting one. Please join us. It won't be as regular a show. We're probably going to run it as a general Q&A with some fun bits thrown in as well. Yeah, it should be fun.
And
If
if
anyone's got
anyone
any
has-
idea...
Yeah,
Just
I was going to say the same thing.
No, go for
And
it.
if
Go on.
anyone's got any suggestions or ideas that they'd like to see, we want to plan to do some interesting stuff live. Maybe not fire related, because I'm sure they wouldn't be too happy if we just start setting fires. in
Hey,
there.
I'll tell you what. I'll get my seating pad out and I'll demonstrate it. Right.
But yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Get in contact.
Which you can do so on our email at nofochat@hotmail.com. Instagram is at November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and our website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. And you can also get in touch with us on our own Instagrams as well, not at 9volt Airsoft or at _Quartermaster. Or if you want to get in touch with Lance, it's at the_punished_1_. So, which I think you can also find on our website. To save you having to type all that in, I think you can just click it directly on the website. So
Yeah.
save you some time. In the meantime, thanks everyone so much for joining us this week. It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Andy.
That's all right. Thank you, Mike.
No problem.
I don't know why we're thanking each other now. Thanks, Lance.
No, I don't know. It's all good. Yeah, sorry Lance couldn't be here, but
Yeah.
I know he was gutted to miss this one. So we shall see you all next week for our 100th episode. It's going to be very exciting.
At 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock on Saturday, not on Wednesday. So in the meantime, stay NoFo.
Stay NoFo. And stay well.
Have a good week. And
everyone
yeah.
enjoy their weekend.
And enjoy the weekends. So we'll see you soon.
See you later, guys.